All right, let's talk reports. This is probably, I imagine what you guys have a lot of questions on. I know Andrew put it out in the Slack group, and this is really what we got a lot of questions on. I'm happy to spend time on this. If you're on this, feel free to ask. This is where I go, and it may be because I'm still living in universal analytics world, but I go acquisition, traffic acquisition. To me, this is how I make sense of what on earth is going on. But feel free, if you like to look at on a user basis, if you kind of like the overview. But for me, this is where I'm going, where I understand what on earth I'm looking at and what I'm going for, right? So here we can see that default channel group on the left. We can see how many user sessions, engaged sessions, et cetera. It's picking these things up. And then I can actually submit. So I've got, by default, it'll show all events here, but I could drill down and say, okay, where are form submissions coming from? Looks like this is coming from organic social right here. Love to see it, right? Same thing with conversions. If we scroll over, you'll be able to see that as well. Here's a pro tip, and I'll hop in and show all this in just a second, but here's a pro tip as well of you can then add sort of what we used to call, I think, a secondary dimension in Google Analytics, Universal Analytics of, okay, I've got this source medium, that's dandy, or this, I should say this default channel group, which is how they group source medium together. So like, Bing organic, Google organic, DuckDuckGo organic, that's all going to be under organic search, right? And if I want more specifics, show me the page. This is the best one I found. It's a little weird. It's unintuitive to me, but landing page and query string, that then gives me something approaching a usable report. And what I'm looking at here now, I'm sorted, high to low on users. This is for my old agency here. So it's like, I can see organic search. This is an old blog post about getting Google reviews, right? That's where we're getting the bulk of the traffic. I can see kind of the engagement data for that page with that channel. And I could even scroll over and see, are we getting form submissions? Potentially, are we getting email subscribers? Those are all things to potentially track, right? So to me, this is just how I think, and I can click on any of these and sort. So I could say, show me which one's giving us the most purchases, right? Show me which one's giving us the most form submissions, live chats, email opt-ins. Those are all things you'd want to be tracking as events and potentially as conversions, right? And so we can see that here and start to get a sense of what on earth is going on? How are people using the site? So there's quite a few reports out of the box that are just head scratchers. And I really go to this one. And if we have questions today or if things come up, this is probably going to be the first place I'm going to go, just because this is how my mind works. Yeah. When we scroll over to the right, we can select events, we can select form submissions, but this combination of how did they get to the site? What page did they land on? And then what happened? This is at least one way to start thinking analytically and getting some value out of GA4, even if this was much easier to see in Universal Analytics, right? Here's another one. If you like to see it the other way, we can go down to engagement, landing page, and we can see the list of landing pages. And then again, I like to add in source medium. And then this one, you can see it differentiates Bing organic from Google organic, right? I can see specifically where are people coming from, but it's sort of like, show me for this page what's going on. And I can do it by session, I can do it by user. I could sort by form submit if I wanted to, or purchase in case, whatever you like to do. Maybe it's add to, maybe it's checkout. You just kind of want to see where, where are we moving people along in the process. So you can do it either way. You can see, how did they get to the site, and then what page did they hit? Or if you like to say, what page did they hit? And by the way, how did they get there? Then add this as, I don't know if it's called secondary dimension anymore, but you can add that in there as well. I'm going to hop out and see if we can look at this in real time here. So, and feel free to throw in questions into the live chat here. If you want to hop on and vocalize one, go nuts. So I'll kind of talk through what I look at here when I'm in the new GA4. So as I mentioned, they've got all kinds of out of the box data in here. I'm not always sure how useful it is. This is fine. Last 7 days, last 28 days, what's going on with users, new users, events, etc. It's nice. We could potentially drill in here, particularly if we want to. If there's maybe particular events I'm curious about, conversions, etc. I could be looking at that. Maybe if I want to drill down into more specifics, we could potentially be doing that as well. Maybe we just want to see, hey, how many added to carts do we got? That's great. So there is, to me, this is usable. This is fine right here. As I scroll down in this is very compressed. This is certainly at a glance sort of view. I usually think more in months here, but here's a sense of what's going on with sessions. What's the trend over time? That's fine. Here's some geography. Here's kind of some pages. I don't know, which just the way the SEO titles are in pages. Sometimes this is I have to squint at this one a little bit. I might think more in URLs myself. Here's kind of source medium. Here's maybe some insights. I'm sure hopefully this will get better over time. You can even give them a thumbs up or thumbs down here, but that's kind of what we got here out of the gates on the homepage. Let's go to reports. One thing to say is, let me show real-time reports real quick. If you're potentially testing things, you could hop in and look here and see what's going on with your events right in this. So this is a way that sometimes we're troubleshooting and doing things right there. Let's see. So I'm back on reports, report snapshot. Great. Here we go. Similar sort of stuff in here. Again, I would say this is fine to browse. What are our top events, et cetera? That's great. But I really want to know, I want to start with questions and then get my questions answered. So I start to do that more in here as I'm looking at these life cycle acquisition reports. We're starting to get there, I guess. Again, just kind of the snapshot. Hopefully these are going to get better over time. I could see some Google ad performance in here, but it's really just sessions I would need to drill in to get a little more out of that. This one is interesting. So again, I'm used to traffic acquisition, but let's think in terms of users instead. That's really kind of the way we're going. People are going to visit the site more than once before they convert. We all understand that. This, I think, is where they're going to kind of be driving us, right? And so where are users coming from? You can see this default here is the first time. So what's the default channel group? Again, this is going to, so as an example, organic search, that's going to be Google, Bing, DuckDuckGo, Yahoo, right? And same thing with organic social. This could be from Instagram. This could be from TikTok. This could be, what have you, from Facebook, organic. But we're going to see things in here that tell us, where did people first find us as far as GA4 knows? And this gives us a little something to work with. I may not care about every single event they have listed, but I do want to know where purchases are coming from, right? Same thing so notice not every single event. So here's the long list of events in here that they've got data on. That's great. Session start, et cetera. Maybe you've got videos in there. You could be tracking that piece, but I may just want to know, show me these. I've got contact form submit. I've got purchase. Show me what's going on with the purchases. As I scroll over, we should have revenue tracking in there. This used to be Google Analytics, e-commerce tracking or enhanced e-commerce tracking. Now when you hook this up through Shopify, hopefully this should be working out of the gates here. That seems like a duh, something we expect. This actually takes a lot of setup with other platforms, so this is nice to see. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I jump in with a couple questions here?
Please do.
This is where I start to get frustrated and miss universal analytics. And I think the answer to these questions is you have to just, go into like the full-on report builder, which is sometimes like a pain for just trying to get some simple questions answered. But okay, number one, do you know of any way to add conversion rate to this table? Like, it's great we can see conversion volume, but a lot of times we want to know what channels are ultimately driving effective performance. So conversion rate is a lot of times the most important KPI.
Yeah, I think you're spot on there. Great question.
It wasn't you, May. Why did people nuke it?
Yeah, right. We want to know conversion rate. I think you're spot on with that. How do I say your name? I'm sorry.
Kana,
right on.
Yeah.
Great question. Thanks for bringing that up. This might be as good a time as any for me to hop over into Looker, which is what they now call Google Data Studio. Have you used this? Are you familiar with this at all?
Yeah.
This is, there's probably different ways to skin a cat here. This is probably how I might approach this. And so what we do, I'll zoom in here. So just so everyone's familiar, this is a separate tool. It used to be called Google Data Studio. Now it's called Looker. And we can connect it to Google Analytics, Google Ads, Google Search Console. And there's ways to connect it even to, Meta and other things. We may have to have premium plugins to help us do that piece, but you can build pretty good dashboards in here. And so once you do that, you go manage added data sources, you resource, manage added data sources. So we're making a new one. We've got a list of all these different data sources we can pull from. Just this morning, I added GA4 for these guys. So we, even as an agency, we're slowly working through our clients and updating the old Looker reports or Data Studio reports here. So they used to pull from all website data, which was universal analytics. Now I want to pull from GA4. So we just need to add that as a data source in here, and then we can start to build tables. I'm totally frightened to be doing this on the fly because everything seems to be different. But let's see if we can get something about, see if we can even get conversion rate. Is there conversion? So what we can potentially do is if we can find purchase, e-commerce purchases, let's see if that gets us close. All right, that's not too shabby. So what I'm doing right here, sorry for anyone who's not familiar with this chart set up here. So I do add chart, give me a table. To me, the table is the most basic sort of chart that I create. This is, again, how I think, because I'm used to SEO and Google Ads and looking kind of in there in Google Analytics. So what I want usually is dimension, default channel grouping. I could make it source medium if we prefer that, if we can find that. Let's see if we can get that specific medium. There we go. There is session medium, there's user medium, etc. I'm going to keep it session, default channel grouping. Okay. We're going to have sessions. We're going to have e-commerce purchases in here, right? And then I need to find conversion rate. Back to your question, how do we do that? What's nice in here is we are able to build custom ones. I'm doing this on the fly and I'm totally terrified, but let's just see if we can do something. So if I don't see purchase conversion rate, and you kind of have to search through these and see what you can find. Purchase to view rate, purchase to view rate. Let's just look at purchase to view rate. Is that correct? That doesn't look correct to me. Because 95.
Maybe that's like of people who viewed a product, how many people purchased.
Gotcha. Yeah. I'm showing a 3-point-some% conversion rate. So that's not right. So when I'm editing this, let's get this one out here. Let's assume we don't have it and we need to build a custom one. When you go add metric, you can do create field. And here is where you could do this. So let's see if we can do e-commerce purchase conversion rate. Let's just see if we can get there. I have no idea if this is going to work. And you can start typing these in. Here's e-commerce purchases, right? I always screw up on which is numerator, which is denominator here. And then sessions. Let's just try sessions. Let's just see what happens there with that. Let's make this a %. Let's just see what happens. How'd we do? Hey, we got it. So there we go. So you can and maybe might want to build your own reports on this. And this way you can see this. And there's annoying little stuff in here if this doesn't wrap and stuff. So you just kind of, finagle around with it and get it where you need. But if you have particular questions and you're not getting them answered in GA4, I would recommend connecting Looker or Google Data Studio and doing this manually. Is that the sort of thing that would be useful for you to see?
Would you typically do everything in Data Studio, or would you use the what GA4 calls them explorations? It's a similar interface. Like it's like build your own report, pick all the dimensions and metrics that you want to see.
Yeah, let's hop to that. I'm even more frightened of doing this on the fly, so bear with me here. I have found these extremely frustrating. And again, in Google Analytics, Universal Analytics, and then Google Data Studio, I could whip up a report no problem. This I feel like I'm doing more wrestling when I do this, and so I don't know if I'm alone in that, but I don't. To me, this is not as intuitive. But let's see if we can get something approaching that. So we're going to have a table.
Eagan's going to pull this up real quick. Just want to say welcome to some of the other members that have joined. Kana had a question for Eagan. Eagan's really one of my longtime friends and a person I turn to for any Google Analytics, Google AdWords questions. So we're going through specific questions. So if you have specific questions about this, we can get into those now after Eagan gets through this. But we can also, Eagan can continue going through. We're all learning as we go through. I feel like we should be drinking during this meeting, to be honest with you.
I'm with you on that.
I'm like, every time I'm like, wait, what now? So anyway, if you have questions, fire them up in the chat, or we can have Eagan continue after this. But yeah, just wanted to say welcome to everyone.
Yeah. So because of the data structure on these, I'm not even able to add this one in here. So let's just see if there's another purchase one. But it's like weird little quirks like that. So revenue is nice, but we want to get number of purchases, right? Purchasers is great. What I think is happening is this is on a user basis. I'm still thinking on a session basis, like in the old world, right? And so by users, this may not be the way to go. So maybe instead of sessions, I wonder if we could look at, let's see if we can get users in here. Yeah, I'm curious if anybody else has had good luck building their own reports in here and what you found useful.
No, pretty much just what you said. Like, it's always frustrating trying to dig into this.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to get sessions out of there. Let's do it on a user basis rather than sessions, maybe. And then can we get anything approaching? What do we got here? The purchase, right? This is I imagine what we want, right? Is purchase conversions, purchasers, purchases. Just see revenue. I'll throw that in just for kicks, but that's not going to give us, it's not going to give us conversion rate like we would want. Okay. Let's see how it is about in terms of creating custom. So here's the same idea. Can we create our own calculated conversion rate within here? Where do we do that? Yeah. And if anybody finds this intuitive and this seems like a better place to build, by all means, be my guest. As you can see, for me, Looker really is just so much easier.
One other question, like going back to just like the standard acquisition reports, like user acquisition or traffic acquisition. The other frustrating thing I find coming from Universal Analytics is the timeline graph doesn't update when you start to like filter your table. So like if you were to go back to like user acquisition, you've got your channels right there, and you want to say, okay, let me see how organic is trending over time, and you apply a filter just to show organic. The table updates, but the timeline graph doesn't. Is that easier to do in Data Studio?
Yeah, let me speak to that real quick here. So right here in Data Studio, you can select this N8. What's nice is you can have a default range. So for us, we're an agency, so we're sending these to clients. Of we could just default it to last month and just send them the link. And there's actually a way in here to even just program this of just, just deliver this on schedule, send a report through Google right to them. So that's nice. So you can do the defaults on that. To answer your question in terms of when I'm in view mode, I'll see if we can look at this. Let's say for some reason, maybe I just want to look at April month to date or something like that. Let's take a look at that. Yeah, so it looks like those update pretty well. So to me, that's pretty intuitive. I think what you're finding is some of these other reports, you're changing the date range, and the sub reports in the dashboard are not updating. Is that right?
No, like go back to like in GA4, the user acquisition report.
Just looking at, there is session and user conversion rate, but it's junk here. And so what you might have to do is, I just want to finish this thought real quick. So you may have to do just purchases or something like that. Of let's set up a filter so we're just seeing those. And that way we could potentially get a conversion rate here. All right. So you're looking at these reports back in here, and you're changing this number here, and it's not updating.
No. Sorry. Right? Go back to the acquisition in the left sidebar there, and just go to like user acquisition.
Yep. Right here.
So the timeline graph shows each line, it represents a channel. And what I typically find helpful is like if we start to like it's only showing the top 5 channels. So like scroll down a little bit and to see the table.
Yep. We want to
like say I wanted to see how email is trending over time, because that's not on the graph right now. In that little search bar that kind of splits the graph and the table, like if you just type in the word email just to filter email, the table updates, but the graph doesn't. So like, how do I see email over time, like on a graph? Is that easy to do in Data Studio?
Great question. Yeah, let's take a look at that. To me, it is. So that's why I'm going here. So you can, again, do a time series. I think this is what we want. Let's do a time series chart like this. May take me a second here. That looks pretty good like that. It looks like it's sessions. And then what you can do, which is kind of interesting, is you can set up, let's see if this is right. let's do a drop down list here. And you can do default channel grouping. So now when I view this, potentially you could say only show me email. And it updates to the email line. So that is one way to do it. Let's make that a little more clear on this. So let's give us everything. And what we can do in this one is you can do breakdown default channel grouping, which is what you were talking about, I think. Right? Does this look familiar? Then this is analogous to what we were looking at in GA4, correct? Now I go view, just show me email. It should update. There we go. So to me, that's much easier. And it does seem to snap in. To your point, you're like, where's email in here? I've only getting my top 5. I don't seem to have control of it. Even when I, filter it down here, it doesn't seem like I'm getting it. I find this much easier. What do you think?
Yeah, that is easier. Even easier is how they do it in Universal Analytics.
Yeah, easiest of all. Going
Andrew,
away.
we should have a drink.
Hey, Eagan. Todd wrote. Todd said, "What you built in Data Studio, do you believe the ability to build that will persist, or if Google will shut that down as it moves away from sessions?"
Great question. So I think Looker / Data Studio will be tightly integrated with GA4. I think they're going to keep pushing Looker in terms of this sort of session basis. That's a good question. I think we're always going to want to know that. So I don't have a crystal ball into what Google's going to do. I hope that won't go away. The fact that traffic acquisition is still session based in here, I'm hopeful in that. I guess it defaults to users, but it's got the session data right next to it as well. So I don't anticipate that's going to go away. If it does, we're going to have bigger problems. So that's a great question. Yeah. One note about this kind of report, sometimes my team and I find this really helpful, is so this one, I'm going to edit it again. It's based on sessions right now, right? So I've got metric as sessions, the breakdown is default channel grouping. Sometimes we want to see other metrics here of maybe it's conversion rate by channel, maybe it's purchases, maybe it's some other conversion. But if something just tanks, and I want to know, we lost our sales from SEO, this is where I look. Because to me, I'm a visual person, and that line graph piece really helps. I want to know SEO dropped, what's going on here? If I say the time frame is year to date or the last whatever years or what have you, right? I want to see where's the drop going on. And I could potentially add it. It's a little overwhelming with the breakdown. So what I'm going to do is let's just go sessions, and then potentially can we look at purchases as well, right? E-commerce purchases. So that's going to be a small line because of the way this graph works, but you may have more data and things like that there. Then you could potentially have the breakdown dimension and get that and say, okay, we really lost email traffic and purchases, or we really lost SEO or something like that. So when I'm diagnosing what's going wrong, oftentimes a line graph is the best way to do that. Yeah. Any other questions? Anything that's really come up as you guys are going through this and scratching your heads? I'll pull up the slides again. The other one I really look at is landing page here. What are our top landing pages? This is the little plus sign where we get what used to be called secondary dimension. To me, I think in, let's go in source. So we can go traffic source this time. Am I looking at that? Yeah, session, there we go. Here's all the session one, session source medium. That's how I'm used to thinking. We could go by user too, though, of where did they first find, how did they first get to us? This is interesting. Traffic source, user source medium. So we could go by user. How did they first find us? If they can fill that in, looks like we're getting quite a few from paid social here. Or if it really is session based, that's great too. What's going on this particular session? But I think we've got a little more. This is, that user basis, I think, is more data than we had in Universal Analytics. And so it's nice in that respect. Let's do purchase conversions, sort by revenue, high to low. Here we go. This is what's going on. So this is session. What if I wanted to see traffic source, first user source medium? Like where's the money coming from, right? In this case, SEO seems to be a pretty darn strong contender. To me, that's helpful versus some people are finding us right from the shop page on paid social. That's great. Here we go. But this is answering some hard questions that we have as marketers that we were not able to answer before. And so I feel like that's a good one. Charlotte asks, sorry if I missed this at the start, not a Looker Studio. We need a single connection with GA. All the dimensions are there ready in case lots of dimensions. Yeah, great question. It's pretty simple as far as it goes. We go resource, manage added data sources, add a new data source, and connect GA4. So once you do that, it pulls it in. If you connect another one, you can see we've got some Google Sheets connected. When we do that, we have to actually map them of which ones, which ones are $ units, which ones are actually revenue, which ones are percentages, which ones are units, like we have to go through line by line and specify every metric that we're pulling in from Google Sheet into Looker. But what's nice is when we go Google to Google, that's all done for us. And so all these dimensions, all these metrics, all these drill downs are pretty much in here by default. And that's pretty darn handy. Yeah, keep the question. Yeah.
Okay, never mind. Looks like Charlotte. Yeah, never mind. I saw something incorrect. Keep on rocking.
Yeah, keep the questions coming. Love them, guys. Yeah, you guys have kind of getting the sense of where I really like to look on the reports, but if there's other particular questions, I'm happy to do that. Looks like conversion rate. Seems like we have to build that out ourselves. And my vote is Looker is way easier than doing that with the build your own reports. All right, just a few other words about universal analytics versus GA4. We expect some of the data to be a little different. Of just things are going to be, we want a gut check. We want to see if directionally we're in the right range. We just want to make sure everything's working properly, but they are going to be a little different.